the NFL scouting combine this past weekend really helped show some of the athletic freaks that are in this draft class, the fastest draft class in combine history this last weekend. And we've also had a big trade happen today, actually, with Trent McDuffie going to the Los Angeles Rams, which I'm not too sure if they've already updated it on here, but obviously we will. They did. The Kansas City Chiefs sending McDuffie to the Rams, getting pick 29, some other stuff. But that is very interesting, honestly. It changes a lot of the things that could happen in this draft. The Rams may be straying away from corner a little bit more now because they did just get Trent McDuffie, and maybe the Chiefs going corner, but we'll get into it when we get to both of those teams' picks. However, before we get started, I do want to mention, if you're not subscribed to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you kept on coming back to my videos. If it's your first one, you enjoy it, to hit the subscribe button. It is free, and it helps me out a ton. I'm hoping to, by the end of the year, which we are in March now, get to 1,000. So obviously on my end, I need to start putting out more content for you guys, But we will keep on doing that, and let's get to 1,000, man. I think it'd be a great accomplishment. I know that I can be a good voice for a community out there, like you got some football fans, baseball fans out there as well, and I'd love to be able to make more content for you guys. So if you enjoy, just hit the subscribe button. But let's get into it with pick number 1. Now, the Las Vegas Raiders. I am going to, in the future, I think maybe next week, we're going to do a different mock draft where, it's very unrealistic, I would say, in a way, where we're going to have some things happen in the mock draft where the Raiders may go one way, aka trading back. But we'll talk about that. A very unlikely scenario, in my opinion, but that'll be just a whole video in itself, what it would look like, what this draft, in my opinion, would look like if that happens. Still would probably be similar in different ways, but just a Raider-centric in a way. Not really, but just kind of the focal point. But this one, we're just going to keep it normal. We all know it's going to happen. The measurements on this man was ridiculous. Mendoza, the same size as Josh Allen in his combine measurements. And so the Raiders need a quarterback. Again, I can't stress it enough. Mendoza deserves to be the number 1 pick in the draft this year. So Fernando Mendoza will go first overall to the Raiders. Now, they still really do need to focus on improving that team and getting the Raiders, getting Mendoza some help, whether it's on the line, whether it's pass catchers. Brock Bowers is a great player, Genty, great player in the backfield, but you need some more wide receivers. Your wide receiver 1 cannot be Trey Tucker. Dante Thornton's pretty good. Jack Bech, I really hope they give him chances. I am a TCU fan, so I'm a little biased, but I think he deserves a good shot. He was their second round pick last year. So, but Mendoza is the surefire number 1. Now, number 2 to the New York Jets. I don't think it's going to change much. I had David Bailey. He had a good scouting combine. The agility drill was a little bit of an awkward one, but I still think Arvell Reese is that best available guy for him. They did just trade away Jermaine Johnson to the Titans for Tavondre Sweat, which I thought was a great trade, honestly, for both teams. I think a little bit more for the Jets needing somebody in the interior. And so with that, they kind of proved they're going edge rusher at pick number 2. And I think Arvell Reese is the perfect pick for them. I mean, a 4.46 40 can play the linebacker and the edge rushing spot perfectly. So you can put him wherever you need him. They do need both positions. So Arvell Reese, number 2. I still think he's just the highest upside guy there. So now at pick number 3 to the Cardinals. I mean, this is where it can get interesting. The Cardinals, I was talking about it with a couple of people earlier. They have such an interesting pick. They could go, in my opinion, 3 ways here. They could go with as high as Jeremiah Love here at 3, which is pretty crazy, but Jeremiah Love proved that he is that guy. He's an athletic monster, running a 4.36 40 at his size. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but I think they could also go edge. Get a guy to pair up with Josh Sweat, who had a pretty decent year for him in his first year in Arizona. Or obviously, without Kyler Murray, you don't know who's going to be at quarterback, but you still need somebody to protect that quarterback that you're going to have next year. So Francis Mauigoa, and you build that Paris Johnson Jr., Francis Mauigoa, those two cornerstone pieces for your offensive line in the future. which I've been doing quite a bit on the channel, putting Francis Magnoa as that third overall pick. But this time I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go with an edge rusher again. I think I've done that before in the past. I've been doing it a little bit. I think the defense could use help. They do have some younger players like BJ Ojolari, Zaven Collins, I think still, in I can't quite think of his name right now. Birch, something Birch. But they got young players, maybe not young stars, but they got young pieces. And so obviously the development is waiting to come. But a guy like David Bailey will 100% boost your team up. So I think they could go and get him. It's just like the Jets situation. You had young edge rushers already, but when you have a player of this caliber available to you, you're going to go ahead and pick it. But I think this is going to be a very big rebuild year for the Cardinals this next upcoming year, where they could very well have the number one pick and pick like a Dante Moore first overall next year. And so that's why I even though it probably would be better to go with a Magnoa, I think building and just solidifying the defense, and then maybe attacking offensive line later in the draft, maybe that early second round pick, you go ahead and get a guy like maybe a Caleb Lomu, Blake Miller, and Ian. I just learned how to say it and I forgot it already. A guy from Arizona State, Caleb Tiernan, but I'll make sure to remember how to say it next time. But because I think he could very well be a first round pick. He's a monster. I think he's a great player. I just can't seem to remember how to say his name at times. But David Bailey will go for third to the Cardinals. And then with that, fourth to the Titans. This is another team. Could go as early as Jeremiah Love to 4. Could go with a wide receiver, maybe like a Carnell Tate, and could also go with Ruben Bain. I think this team did just pick up Jermaine Johnson, which, yeah, he's a good edge rusher. You have Jeffrey Simmons. As much as maybe going offense is intriguing, they do believe Jeremiah Love is the best prospect in this class. I still don't know how to fully feel about it. With them going 4 with Jeremiah Love, when especially they could use an edge rusher like Ruben Bain. But for the sake of it, with all the news, we're going to go Jeremiah Love 4. And the reason why is, Ty J. Spears just hasn't really been the guy they probably expected him to be. He's been hurt. Tony Pollard he's been a very serviceable back for him, very good back for him. I just think when you have a player of Jeremiah Love's caliber, you don't pass up on him. Especially if your front office is really big fans of him, I would like Ruben Bain to go to Tennessee here, because then that defensive line would be fun to watch. But in this case, in this scenario, I'm going to go Jeremiah Love due to the fact that Titans news is coming out that the Titans think he's just this absolute monster, which he is. Now, pick number 5 to the Giants. I really think this is going to happen. A good chance this will happen because of his combine, a freakishly good combine. Him and his brother had a great combine. But to start off, Caleb Downs is a very reasonable pick here. Carnell Tate's a big pick here. Francis Magnoa is a good pick here. But I'm going to go with Sonny Styles. The Giants, as funny enough, one of my friends were talking about earlier yesterday. It was about less than an hour before Okereke was the news came out that Bobby Okereke was going to be released. I told him he's probably going to end up getting released because it's $9 million in cap space, and the Giants are in a very interesting spot. They're in a very scary spot. They have about $2 million in cap room, and they only have 25 rostered players. How are you going to be able to field a 53-man roster with only $2 million in cap? It's going to have to start with a cut like Bobby Okereke. And Sonny Styles was an absolute stud at the combine. He's going to be able to come right in and be a day one starter for you at the linebacker position and hopefully fill that void of Bobby Okereke, who's a very good linebacker, don't get me wrong, I'm excited to see where he would go. He could fit really well in Chicago, places like that. Maybe even the Cowboys. Maybe even go cross division. Cowboys really could use a linebacker. But we're going to go Sonny Styles for the Giants here. John Harbaugh helping build that defense up in New York. Now 6 to Cleveland. I think it's not even a question here what Cleveland should do at 6. They have so many free agents on that offensive line. We're going to go with Francis Mauigoa. Can play the guard, can play the tackle. There's only really one true left tackle in this draft, which you'll see, in my opinion, will likely jump up boards, is going to be Monroe Freeling. He's the only true left tackle in this class. I guess you could say Caden Proctor as well, but I think Monroe Freeling is the best true left tackle in this class. Fano likely could move to guard, likely will move to guard, in my opinion. And then Caden Proctor is good. Still think you could be a little bit expendable with him, even with his massive size. You saw the Eagles do it with Mekhi Becton, and it worked. So, but Magnoa can play the guard, the tackle. Yeah, you could say, oh, Carnell Tate's a good pick here because they need some wide receiver help. Jerry Jeudy as the wide receiver one is just not cutting it. I just think that Magnoa is the best pick for Cleveland, especially with how the free agency is looking with their offensive line. So, now, pick number 7 here to the Commanders. Two things. DB, edge rusher. And there's a guy named Ruben Bain Jr. available, so I'm not even going to think about it. Ruben Bain Jr. to the Commanders. They need some edge rush help. I don't care what people think about his arm length. His arm length isn't concerning to me at all. It shouldn't be concerning to anybody who watched him in college. He is an absolute beast of an edge rusher and should 100% be a top 9 pick, in my opinion. If the Saints, Chiefs, Commanders are all pass up on him, there's definitely something going on. There's no way I see him falling between those 3 teams that could desperately use that edge rushing help. He needs to be a top 9 pick, and he deserves to be a top 9 pick. Him, R.L. Reese, and David Bailey, there's just those 3 guys really are a 1A, 1B, 1C if R.L. Reese were counting as an edge rusher. I think those 3 players are just on another level compared to the other players. With that being said, the Commanders really could use him. I could see the Commanders, if Love falls to 7, going Jeremiah Love. I'm a little worried about Caleb Downs right now because of the degenerative knee that everybody's been kind of worried about. But I still think Downs is a great player. I don't think it's too much of an issue to some GMs, but I'm going to go Ruben Bain to the Commanders. Now at number 8 to the New Orleans Saints. I think now with this, the Saints could go 3 ways. Downs, Tate, and Delane. I think Mansour Delane could be a good pick for the Saints. You know, they did trade Lattimore last season, or 2 seasons ago at this point, but they were able to get some good young pieces, but just bolstering that corner room. I really do like Quincy Riley as a Saints fan. I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. At times he can be a little off, so I like our defensive back room. Alontae Taylor is a great corner. I think he makes a lot of havoc plays, but he's just not probably gonna want a little too much money, and the Saints don't really have the cap space at all. So I think they could very well attack that secondary, but I also think you need to find a way to make that offense better. Shuck showed a lot of promise. That Olave-Shuck connection was very real, and I mean very impressive. That's where I think, maybe Carnell Tate is in play here, and I'm going to go with Carnell Tate. I think pairing an Ohio State wide receiver with another one, Carnell Tate and Chris Olave will work very well together. You really ride behind your guy in Tyler Shuck and say, hey, we're going to go all in on you this season. We want to see the improvement. We're playing a bad division. We know we can win this division. We're going to give you the best player available, and that's going to be Carnell Tate. So with that being said, this team could go in a lot of directions. If a Ruben Bain's available at 8, I would be so happy if we just jumped right on it. But I think Carnell Tate, in the spot that I have, everything how it's situating, I think it's a perfect pick. So now at pick number 9 to the Chiefs, we're going to do it just because it just happened in the trade today with McDuffie going away. I think they'll just go and find themselves an instant McDuffie replacement with Mansour Delane. I love Mansour Delane as a corner. As a Saints fan, as I said, I would love to have him on my team, especially with Alontae Taylor likely leaving in free agency. That team, that guy is going to be a great piece for that team in the future. The Chiefs, without McDuffie, really do need another player. McDuffie, more of a slot guy, though, in a way. Mansour Delane, I would probably lean to having him on the outside. I think he's one of those guys that just can play anywhere, in my opinion. More of that inside, but he could probably play that slot. We're just not enough proof of him being able to do so. It's maybe because of that run defense, but great in coverage. Great in both types of coverage, in my opinion, and he's very smart on the football field. So, pick number 10 to the Cincinnati Bengals here. Caleb Downs has been basically my pick every time. The only other people I could think of is a Caleb Banks, a Peter Woods, if Lee Hunter really jumps up the board, maybe a Lee Hunter, but and maybe an edge rusher, maybe an Akeem Mesidor, a Keldrick Falk, which a lot of people are high on Keldrick Falk, but he worries me. He is a monster, he's a beast, but he reminds me a lot of a Shamar Stewart, and maybe a better Shamar Stewart, but you saw what happened to Shamar Stewart. Now, he was hurt and everything and blah, 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 but I don't know if I want to commit to that yet. But especially with Trey Hendrickson being a free agent, edge rusher's definitely in play here. But I just think that Bengals secondary absolutely needs the help. Like a Caleb Downs player, don't care about the knee issues. He is such a great player to not pick at 10. If he doesn't get picked at 10, I'm telling you, Dallas is already calling the phone saying, "Hey, Miami, who are you picking?" Or like if you just telling Roger, if Miami doesn't pick him, send our trade in instantly. That Dallas could very well get him at 12 if he falls. I don't think Miami will pick him at 11, but Downs at 10 is still my pick for Cincinnati. There's a very good chance you see Spencer Fano go at 10 as well, play that guard position, but we're going to stick with Caleb Downs. Now at pick 11 to Miami, speaking of Fano, we're going to go ahead and get Fano. I think that Spencer Fano can move into guard and play perfectly in Miami. I think he is just a great blocker. I do think him and Magno are more of the guy to move to guard. I originally used to think Fano was probably your blue chip left tackle guy. However, I do think Monroe Freeling is your only true left tackle guy in this draft class. As I said earlier, Fano would be a great guard in the league. And hey, if they want to play him at tackle, they'll play him at tackle. I just think the Miami Dolphins can't pass up on that good of a blocker. If you don't think he's too much of a guard, maybe they go ahead and they jump on Vega Ioane from Penn State, who's a great guard and already plays guard. But I think with Mansour Delane not being in the equation, I think they go ahead and jump on Spencer Fano. Now, pick number 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go pick one of my studs from this combine. We're going to go Dylan Thieneman. Dylan Thieneman was an absolute stud. I mean, he showed out for the combine. And I've been talking about him for the last 2 mock drafts, saying he is definitely in contention to be a first-round pick. I think that a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who could desperately use a safety, would be willing to jump up and pick Thieneman at 12. We've seen Jerry Jones go after guys that he likes, despite the fact that they are maybe not projected that high. So that's why I think if he falls in love with a prospect like Dylan Thieneman, he will most definitely jump on him. Another player here, Jermod McCoy, is a very possible pick here at 12. But Dylan Thieneman, absolute beast of a safety. He was great at Purdue. He was great at Oregon. And so Dallas figures out something on that secondary to start at least. They desperately need to figure some stuff out in that secondary because that defense in general is just rough. I honestly think they'll only target defense. It'll be one of those drafts where it's like almost all defense. But the Cowboys, great offense in my opinion. Just an absolutely terrible defense. They need to figure something out on the defense side of the ball. I think a guy like Okereke, as I said, is a good candidate to sign with the Cowboys because you give the Cowboys a good defense. I get it. Everybody says the whole thing, the Cowboys always say it's their year, but it's never their year. I think if they have a really good defense, they can be a very competitive team in the NFC. I don't think the NFC is really, besides the Rams, the Seahawks, I don't think maybe the Niners, I don't see them being very many like super big contenders. I think your contenders are going to be the Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, and if the Lions can get their stuff together, it's going to be the Lions again. But I'm still not too ready yet to call the Bears a contender. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Eagles, but I think the Cowboys could turn themselves into one of those top NFC contenders if they can figure it out on defense. And it starts with Dylan Thieneman. Now, at 13 to the Rams, they just acquired cornerback Trent McDuffie. But they could go cornerback again with Jermod McCoy. However, I want to do this because I think this makes this team just so much scarier. You get them a scary wide receiver 3 in Mekhi Lemon. You don't know how much longer Devontae Adams is going to play. I think he only has 1 year left on his contract. That offense, it would be an absolute nightmare for anyone. Anyone. Even the Seahawks defense, which, to be fair, Stafford has absolutely dotted up still in those matchups. Mekhi Lemon, you throw Mekhi Lemon with that team, that's a dang good offense, and they're already improving their defense with Trent McDuffie. So they do have secondary issues to fix. I do think there's a world where they pick a safety in the towards the end of the first round, maybe like an Emmanuel McNeil Warren, where they faced a nick him and worry kind of player. Maybe they go get a safety that they think can do the same thing in McNeil Warren or Thiedemann. But I'm going to go Mekhi Lemon, boosting offense. Sometimes the best defense is offense in a way, but I always think it's the best offense is good defense at times because, better field position, easier to score. But in a way, if you just outscore teams and you're unstoppable, there's nothing they can do, So Baltimore Ravens here at 14. We're going to go ahead and go to the interior. I think they really need to focus in. As much as I would love wide receiver here, I think with Mekhi Lemon going, he's the only guy I could really decide to go at 14. I don't know if Jordan Tyson is still one of those guys I want to pick at top 14, even though he's probably going to go in this mid-first round range. I just think the injuries are a little worrisome. Amazing bench press, I believe, from him, by the way. Protect Lamar at all costs. That's all I'm going to say. He was hurt for how many games this last year. You need to just protect him at all costs. Vega Ioane is going to do exactly that. So not much else other than that. Ioane going to Baltimore. 15 to Tampa Bay. We're going to go ahead and go Jermod McCoy. As I've said in my past ones, didn't play in 2025. His 2024 tape proves he's worthy of a first-round pick. The Buccaneers could either go edge rusher corner, maybe a Kenyon Sadiq if he jumps up the board, which there is a world he does because he had the best tight end combine ever. But Jermod McCoy here, could really use the corner help. They do have Parrish, Benjamin Morrison. I do think Jamel Dean is a free agent in a way, but Jermod McCoy to help that corner room if I am right about Jamel Dean. So that is the direction I'll go. Now pick 16 with the Jets. Honestly, they could go a lot of ways here. They could go a CJ Allen, fix that linebacker spot. They could go a Jordan Tyson. They could go a corner. They could go like an Avion Terrell or something. I'm going to go Jordan Tyson. I think they just really need another pass catcher. I believe last year's mock drafts, I was so big on talking about how much they need a pass catcher. Garrett Wilson can't do it all on his own. Yeah, they need a quarterback, of course, but there's so many guys out there that I think they could end up getting, like a Kyler Murray in a way. You give Kyler Murray, Garrett Wilson. I like Mason Taylor as a tight end, and then Jordan Tyson. Those are three good pass catchers for Kyler Murray, and they've got a pretty decent offensive line over there in New York. It's just the defense could also use a lot of help. They've got a lot of things to figure out, but I think Jordan Tyson's a great start. Jordan Tyson and Arvell Reese in the first round are two great picks. So now pick 17 to the Detroit Lions. We're going to go with edge. We're going to go with Akeem Mesidor. I really do think Akeem Mesidor is that next step at the edge rusher position other than the top three. And I mean, let's make sure I backed it up. I sure did. I think him and Ruben Bain were two huge reasons why they were in the national championship game. Miami was. And he is a great player. Akeem Mesidor should 100% be that fourth edge rusher off the board, in my opinion. I like Keldrick Falk. He's a good player. Good at defending the run. I'm a little worried about his pass rushing game and his production because at times you can't really always just look at how much of an athletic freak this guy is, which is a little worrisome with Arvell Reese as well. You know, he kind of fell on the production side towards the end of the year. I just think he's unbelievable with what he can do. But Keldrick Falk is still a good first round. Still a first rounder in my opinion, just not what the Lions would want over an Akeem Mesidor. So that is dangerous. Him and Aiden Hutchinson on both sides of that D line. Now, pick 18 to the Minnesota Vikings. Two things: safety, corner. That's it. Just a defensive back. Avion Terrell's here. We're going to go ahead and pick Avion Terrell. I might have been picking Avion Terrell to this team maybe every time, it seems like. And it's because they need corner. They desperately need to fix that defensive back room. They went 9-8 with such a weird situation for a team this last year. And if they can get things figured out in the quarterback room and then maybe get those younger players like Avion Terrell on the defensive side, this team is just right back into contending for the NFC North. That is such a good division. But remember, they went 14-3 last year with a very similar roster in a way. Lost a couple of pieces, and now they went 9-8. Like, the fact they went 9-8, they seemed like a team that did not go 9-8. They had such a weird season where it didn't seem like they were successful, but they still went above 500. So a guy like Avion Terrell, you put him on, I think he's just an absolute dog, plays above his size. That is great for Brian Flores' defense. Now, 19 to the Carolina Panthers. Multiple routes to go here. Kenyon Sadiq, you could go tight end. You could go a Caleb Banks, a Cassius Howell, someone on that D-line. Or you could go C.J. Allen. And I'm going to go C.J. Allen. I think they really could benefit off of getting a off-ball linebacker. And last year, I really wanted them to go with Jalen Walker because I liked his off-ball linebacker edge rush skills. C.J. Allen, a little bit more of that pure off-ball linebacker. Great run defender, as you see here, and he doesn't miss tackles. But he's a good run defender, and you need that off-ball linebacking presence. Maybe a smart guy back there with good range, and I see that in C.J. Allen. I really do like the Panthers. They're a promising team, and as I've said with the Saints too, it's such a weak division over there in the NFC South. One or two pieces can help the team win the division again. So, and C.J. Allen will help the Panthers with their future. So, pick 20 to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go edge rusher. If C.J. Allen's available, I could definitely go him. But I'm going to go Cassius Howell. I like Cassius Howell because of how the speed he plays the game. Keldrick Falk, good player. Don't get me wrong. Again, do not get me wrong on that. He's a good player. Cassius Howell is a monster in the pass rush. I get it. You usually don't want to spend a first-round pick on a guy that's just a third-down guy, not a three-down guy. But he's a monster in pass rush. He is fast. He plays quick. I think a guy like that with his motor is going to be easier to transition to be a good run defender than a guy like Keldrick Falk, who is already a good run defender and trying to work on that pass game. It is really hard to, I guess, say grow into an elite pass rusher in this league when you're going against the best of the best at the tackle position. Other than an elite edge rusher in college, help building on those elite skills that he already knows, like an Cassius Howell, and then just becoming a better run defender by becoming more powerful, just learning a little more. I think the transition from elite edge rusher to becoming a good run defender in the NFL is a little bit easier. You see it with a guy like Micah Parsons, who's still making play. You know, a guy like Myles Garrett is a better choice. He was just good at everything, to be honest. Let's be real. But Micah Parsons really came into the league as like just an edge rush kind of guy when he fully moved to edge rusher. But I feel like he's improved pretty well. He's one of the best edge rushers in the league, but doesn't play every down. However, still. But that's what happens with some of those edge rushers. Maybe they don't play every down. They're still one of the best players in the NFL, and they don't even play every down. A guy like Micah Parsons. So now pick 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been going wide receiver here. I think every mock draft I've gone Denzel Boston at 21 here to the Steelers. I do think the Steelers just absolutely desperately need wide receiver help. But I do want to switch it up because we've done it so much. I do think that tackle need that they're showing there is 100% true. So we're going to go Monroe Freeling. I liked the Troy Fautanu pick, 2 seasons ago? They're definitely investing in their offensive line, but some of those guys aren't working. Like a Broderick Jones, maybe not working for them. They could use a guy like Monroe Freeling, who, as I said, true left tackle kind of guy. Rodgers, I don't know if Rodgers is coming back to Pittsburgh yet. We don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. It's almost kind of like the Maui pick for the Cardinals. You don't know what it's going to be, but you need to protect him. And Monroe Freeling is a building block of a player. He is an absolute stonewall. You give him the reins at left tackle, right tackle, whatever, either side, They need to figure it out maybe for the future and long term at the tackle position. And I think there's some good wide receivers you can get in day two, like a Jeremy Bernard and Elijah Surratt. I think an Omar Cooper Jr. could definitely jump into the first round, maybe a Chris Bell in the second. But Monroe Freeling here to the Pittsburgh Steelers, just so we can switch it up. We've gone Denzel Boston every mock draft. I just want to switch it up a little bit. Now at 22 here to the Chargers. Man, this is also a spot that I am like, maybe I throw a little, what is it? I throw a little curveball, maybe a change up. I don't know. Let's see what the pitch repertoire is. Anyways, it's been Vega Ioane or a defensive interior every time. And I think the public generally agrees with me. It's defensive interior, Vega Ioane. And Caleb Banks is right here. Caleb Banks is a great player. I also think there's a world they go and get Kenyon Sadiq. They want themselves, they wanted a guy like Colston Loveland, but he ended up jumping all the way to 10 last year. You go get a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, who's another freak athlete at the tight end position, just like Colston Loveland. But we're going to just stick with what we know. We're going to go Caleb Banks in the interior. They do need some help on that defensive line. I think it starts off with the guy in the middle. Caleb Banks, 22 to the Chargers. I think if Vega Ioane is here, it's 100% Vega Ioane. For right now, we're going to go Caleb Banks because he is definitely what they need more. I think Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, maybe even a Lee Hunter. I don't know if Lee Hunter is still 22, in my opinion, at that 22 spot, but Caleb Banks will be that defensive interior. I think maybe the first defensive tackle off the board as well. Yeah, first defensive tackle off the board at 22, which could very well not be the case. It could be definitely higher, but pick number 23 to the Eagles. I think the Eagles might be planning on moving away from Dallas Goedert. So I'm going to go Kenyon Sadiq, absolute beast at the combine. One of the best combines ever by a tight end. 4.39, 43.5-inch vert, all this ridiculous. What was it, 11.1 broad jump, 11.2 broad jump. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous from Kenyon Sadiq. Which, once again, it's cool to see second year in a row, a guy from Idaho really show out and honestly solidify himself as a first-round pick. It's been awesome to watch him be this absolute monster at Oregon. So he would be great for a team like them. Maybe A.J. Brown, it gets traded this offseason, so then you end up having another good weapon in Sadiq when Devontae Smith moves to that wide receiver 1 role. And so Kenyon Sadiq with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts seems to like his tight ends in the red zone, so Kenyon Sadiq's right there. 24 to the Cleveland Browns. We went with, what did we do again? Francis Mauigoa. Yes, we went Francis Mauigoa. I'm so used to putting him on the Cardinals. We did switch it up today. Francis Mauigoa to the Browns already. They're a team, as I've said in the last mock draft, they could double dip at the offensive line position. But we'll switch it up. We're going to go with a wide receiver this time. It's between a Denzel Boston, a KC Concepcion. I do like KC Concepcion a lot. I think Denzel Boston, don't get me wrong, is a good player. Am I really that big on him? Not the biggest on him. He is an absolute monster at contested catch rate. I think it's like a 70, 76. Like, that's ridiculous. And he's going to be running routes that are deep down the field. But I like a player like KC Concepcion, especially if the Browns really try to move on from Jerry Jeudy. So it's between these two players. Denzel Boston, jump ball guy, Casey Concepcion, kind of more slot player. What do you really think is more beneficial for Cleveland? I think it's both, honestly. But for now, we're going to go Denzel Boston for that jump ball ability. Um, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, it's Casey Concepcion. I just think Denzel Boston with his jump ball capabilities is something they could use there. Pair him with Harold Fannin, Cedric Tillman. Wow, that's Cedric Tillman being the second name I can think of really isn't the best in the world. He's pretty good, but he's good. He's okay, but he's not no world beater. Maybe an Isaiah Bond there too, but especially because I think they should move on from Judy. Denzel Boston is a good pick here. Chicago Bears at 25. There's a world they don't pick here because they get Max Crosby, but for now, we're going to keep him here, of course. And with that 25th pick, we're going to go Caden McDonald. I do think it's either safety or defensive interior for the Bears. I think there's a world where they go and they're going to get Max Crosby. They're going to get maybe sign a Trey Hendrickson if they can. They are going to focus edge rusher this offseason, and then in the draft, focus that interior and get a guy like Caden McDonald. So that's where I think everything meets up for Chicago. And that's why I think Caden McDonald, a guy that's going to be a little bit better on both sides of the run game and the pass game, is something they could use in that inside. So Keldrick Falk's a good player here too. I'm surprised I've even let Keldrick Falk fall down this much, but he's a good player here too. He could play a little bit more inside. But I like Caden McDonald, and I like him in Chicago. 26 here to Buffalo, wide receiver. I am a little worried with Casey Concepcion with how similar he is to Khalil Shakir. If Buffalo will pick him, because of that, we're gonna do something else this time. We've done what it seems to be like we've done. It seems like we've done wide receiver almost every time. We're gonna go Keldrick Falk here for the Bills. Edge rusher is a position of need for them. Joey Bosa, pretty old. They just need some edge rushing presence. Keldrick Falk, a powerful guy in the run game, good in the pass game. Could use some more improvement in the pass game, but I think when you have a player of his caliber at pick 26, and you've got in my opinion, a pretty deep wide receiver class, even with a Zachariah Branch, a Malachi Fields, Skylar Bell, like these guys even in the later area, you could go ahead and pick them late and maybe still have them at play for you. And as I said, I think Casey Concepcion and Khalil Shakir are a little too similar to my liking. So with a guy like Keldrick Falk available at 26, you're going to pick him. Now, pick 27 for the San Francisco 49ers. It says they need a safety, in this situation, I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's perfect for them. They do have Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa, but I'm still going to go with him. I think the secondary, adding a guy like McNeil-Warren is a big plus. I think a Casey Concepcion also is in the makings of becoming a 49er. I guess that's the way you could put it. But I think Emmanuel McNeil-Warren boosting that safety room that is pretty young already, making it younger and just making your secondary younger in general is something that could help. So, and another thing, they're kind of similar to what I've been saying with the Rams. The Rams had to play Nick Emmanwori. They saw how successful it was for Seattle. Maybe they go and get themselves a guy like McNeil-Warren that can be their Nick Emmanwori, but in San Francisco instead of Seattle. So, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren at 27 to the Niners. My only other pick here, to be honest, would be like a Caden Proctor or a Concepcion. Now, 28 here to the Texans. Defensive interior or tackle is my pick. And it's going to be between Caden Proctor and Peter Woods. I think the long term of keeping your defense good and one of the best is going to be the best choice with the availability of linemen that could likely be in free agency. So I'm going to go Peter Woods here. That Texans team is amazing. They just need to keep on making that offense better. They did just get David Montgomery, so I think that running back need really isn't that big of an issue now. But you need to focus on the offensive line, and you need to focus on the defensive interior, especially for the long term. I believe Sheldon Rankings was one of the starters on the defensive line, which he was pretty good for him. But Peter Woods, a good young piece who, he said, I'm going to be the guy that's going to give offensive coordinators nightmares. And if you add him to that Texans defense, well, obviously he's going to help be a part of that nightmare in a way. I mean, that's nasty. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., and Peter Woods. That is scary. That is a scary team. But Kansas City now here at pick 29, now with that LA pick. Maybe they go ahead and say, hey, we just got rid of Jawan Taylor. We go tackle, or we say, hey, now we pick up our edge rusher. We picked up Mansour Delane. Maybe now we pick up a wide receiver in a way, Rashee Rice. We don't know what's going on with him and everything. And Xavier Worthy maybe hasn't worked out the greatest in these last 2 seasons. So with that, I do think that a player like Caden Proctor is probably the best pick. So I'm going to go that. You did, as I said, release Jawan Taylor, released him, which he was never really that good in my opinion. But you could really use some offensive line help to help Mahomes when he's back. You don't want him to be put into a scary spot where he's not going to feel protected back there, especially off of an ACL injury. So Caden Proctor, I think I would honestly, people are going to be upset if Caden Proctor manages to find a way to become a Chief. That's a good first round for Kansas City, especially after giving up such a good player. You get a Mansour Delane who can be a very good corner in this league, and then a Caden Proctor who can become a very good tackle in this league. Pick 30 now to the Denver Broncos. This team really just keeps on I don't know what it is with this team, and I don't know what it is they could fully use. The 2 biggest positions they could use, maybe getting an interior lineman, but like a Connor Lew and a Sam Hecht is not worth picking in the first round. I think the only position that they could really target is honestly an Eli Stowers. I could see him going 30. And with that, I'm going to pick him because I think they would really benefit from an athletic guy like Eli Stowers. But if you don't pick him in the first round, he's not going to be available for you unless you trade up in the second round. So I think getting him there now, getting that 5th-year option on him, we will see it benefit that offense and benefit Bo Nix when he comes back from injury. Wow, so many AFC West cornerbacks just be getting hurt, it seems like. But Eli Stowers to the Denver Broncos here at 30. Now pick 31 to the New England Patriots. Tackle, edge rusher. That's all I want you to think about. That's all I want you to think about. Tackle, edge rusher. And I went Zion Young last time. The only tackle I could really think of is Caleb Lomu or our guy from Arizona State. But we're going to go the edge rusher route again. I'm still going to go Zion Young. I do like Zion Young more than TJ Parker. I like his physicality. I like his size. For a team like the Patriots, who could really just use help on either sides in the trenches. So, and then finally, pick 32 to the Seahawks. We've gone Brandon Cisse so much. I mean, so much here of Brandon Cisse. I'm honestly gonna not go Cisse here because I want to switch it up. I think there's a world, depending on how the Rashid Shaheed situation goes this offseason, which I find it hard to believe they won't re-sign him. I think there's a world they can go wide receiver. And so with that, we're going to go Casey Concepcion. I think corner is more likely going to be the play. Like a Brandon Cisse will definitely be more of the play because Reek Woolen, I don't believe, will come back. But we're going to switch. We want to switch it up. We switched up a little bit with some other spots. So with that being said, last pick of the first round, Casey Concepcion. The Seahawks get a great player at 32. That'll be it for this mock draft. With no trades, of course. We did have our Kansas City trade happen in real life. A couple of teams picking twice. The Cowboys, the Browns, the Jets, and the Chiefs all picking twice in this draft. Some risers, some fallers due to that combine. Let me know what you guys thought about the mock draft. Who you want your team to pick in the mock draft. What your favorite position for your team to target would be. And honestly, if you liked it, just make sure to like the video, and leave a comment even if you like the video. Just let me know what you want to see in the future as well. We're gonna try and get some more scouting reports on a little bit of those middle round guys. I think with the Kyle Lewis one we just did recently, I want to do one on Bud Clark. TCU bias, but I want to do one on Bud Clark. And now, maybe some higher players, those fringe first rounders. So, but that's going to be it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button, and we will see you guys in the next one.